What is up, YouTube? This is T1 coming at you with another video. And today I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 favorite TV shows of all time. Quick apology for taking so long in this video. I've actually been traveling a lot recently, but whatever. Let's just get into the list, starting with number 5, and that is Saturday Night Live. I'm a big fan of sketch comedy when it's done right, and while this show has hit a bit of a slump in recent years, for almost half a century, this show has been pumping out great sketch after great sketch. Although the latter half of the 90s, when Will Ferrell became a cast member, towers above the other eras in terms of side-splitting hilarity, at least in my opinion. SNL is one of those shows that always bounces back. Although I hope it does so sooner rather than later, there isn't a doubt in my mind I'll be laughing just as hard as ever before long. Oh, and one last thing, Christopher Walken is hands down the best host. Number 4 is The Twilight Zone, one of the most cinematic, brilliantly written and directed shows to ever grace the small screen. I can't really remember there being any bad episodes. Everyone was like just a mini movie, and it also blended genres really well. Contrary to popular opinion, this wasn't just a horror show. There were plenty of scary episodes to be sure, but there were also heartwarming episodes, funny episodes, and all with that classic Rod Serling edge, which vaulted up the show considerably. I mean, what else can I say? A collection of stories this diverse can only be found in The Twilight Zone. Number 3 is Smallville. I fucking love Superman. I think I've made that pretty clear in previous videos. I love the DC universe in general, but Superman just towers above almost any other franchise for me. And this fascinating exploration of the origin of not just the character, but all things Superman is a really fresh reinterpretation of the mythos. The show wasn't perfect, the special effects are really dated, and it kind of started dragging its feet around season 7, but the stuff it did well, it did really well. For instance, while I don't like all their interpretations of Superman characters, I wasn't a big fan of this version of Jor-El, they just nail the Luthors. While on its own, it's a solid little show about young Clark Kent, the Luthor family vaults this show into the stratosphere. Michael Rosenbaum is to Lex Luthor what Heath Ledger was to the Joker. He's faithful to the character, but still manages to make it completely his own. And Lionel Luthor, played by John Glover, is a really great and interesting character as well, and he was made up for the show. Smallville is clever and action-packed, and it's a great look at the origin of the greatest superhero. Number 2 is Game of Thrones, which is a dark and politically intriguing fantasy with fleshed-out characters. HBO's drama series has already made its mark as one of the greatest franchises of all time, and it's not even over yet. The cast here is incredible. My personal favorites are Peter Dinklage, Liam Cunningham, and Maisie Williams, although there's plenty of other great actors here too. The writing is great. Obviously, George R. R. Martin is a fantastic writer, and I think Benioff and Weiss have been doing a great job interpreting his work. And the world is just really different and interesting. I mean, there's so many Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings ripoffs, but this show, I mean, every character feels well developed and human. It's not just good guys and bad guys. I mean, as soon as I started this show, I was hooked. It's just awesome. The scope also is unlike anything else on TV. It's unrivaled. This scale is insane. The battles, the effects, it just takes my breath away sometimes. So yeah, Game of Thrones is just plain kick-ass. Go watch it. Before I get to number 1, I got a couple honorable mentions, starting with Gargoyles, which was a awesome Disney show. Probably the best they ever produced. I'd highly recommend that. It's underrated, so check it out. Speaking of check it out, my next honorable mention is Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule. Steve Brule is my spirit animal. This motherfucker is so funny. I don't think I've laughed as hard at almost any other show. It's so funny. South Park is also a really funny and a lot more clever than people give it credit for. It's actually kind of biting satire sometimes. Conan. I don't watch a lot of talk shows, but I think Conan O'Brien is hands down the best talk show host I've ever seen. And the Clone Wars. I'm a self-professed Star Wars junkie, and I like Rebels too, but the Clone Wars was just darker, more interesting. I like the characters more. I just thought it was overall better. And my number 1 favorite show of all time is Superman the Animated Series. This show got Superman right, and I can't compliment that enough. All the episodes are full of action and heart, as all good Superman stories are. Almost every part of the mythos is given its definitive version on the show, whether it be Darkseid, Lois Lane, any of the villains really, and of course Superman himself. I love Christopher Reeve, but Tim Daly is my Superman. The villains are great. The voice acting is great. As I said, Tim Daly is fantastic. Clancy Brown is awesome. Dana Delaney as well. The pacing is perfect. And again, this show nailed Superman. And nothing can top that for me. So that was my list of my favorite shows of all time. This is T-Quentin1 signing out.